Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jan Szrawiński. Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs has summoned Hungary's ambassador to Poland with the view of issuing a formal protest over Budapest's decision to grant political asylum to Poland's former Deputy Justice Minister. Marcin Romanowski, a former government official wanted in connection with a major corruption scandal, fled to Hungary following the issuing of a European arrest warrant. A diplomatic spat followed in the wake of Budapest's move, highlighting current political differences between the two countries.
Romanowski, a former deputy justice minister, is being investigated for allegedly misusing funds earmarked for aid to victims of violent crimes. Instead of appropriating the money for that cause, he and others are suspected of financing the purchase of the Pegasus smartphone spyware. The Israeli-developed high-end software is used by intelligence services to obtain data from infected devices without the user's knowledge. The previous Law and Justice government has been accused of using the software against political opponents. Interpol put out a red notice for the former deputy minister on Wednesday. Romanowski has always held that he has done nothing wrong and refused to appear at hearings. He was arrested in the summer, but immediately released after a court found he was still politically immune to criminal persecution.
Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski posted on X that Warsaw considers Hungary's granting of asylum to Romanowski as a hostile act. The Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán fired back at the Polish officials during a press briefing, claiming that bilateral relations between the two countries were, and I quote, not good. Hungary remains conflicted with the European Union over rule of law issues, with the current Polish government's pro-European stance placing the two countries on a more confrontational footing than under Poland's previous right-wing administration.
We consider the decision of Viktor Orbán's government to grant political asylum to M. Romanowski, a suspect in criminal offences and wanted under a European arrest warrant, to be an act hostile to the Republic of Poland and the principles of the European Union.
Speaking to the press, Paweł Wroński, the spokesperson for the Polish Foreign Ministry, discussed the note of protests presented to the Hungarian ambassador in connection with Budapest's granting political asylum to Polish former Deputy Justice Minister Romanowski.
We submitted a note of protest with the Hungarian ambassador over the decision of the government in Budapest to grant political asylum to Polish former Deputy Justice Minister Romanowski. At the meeting, the ambassador was informed that the Polish government was deeply surprised by the news, which was not communicated officially, but revealed in an interview with the head of the office of the Hungarian Prime Minister. We're shocked by this development and see it as hostile toward Poland and toward the principles that the European Union is based, especially the provisions of the treaty's Article 4, which covers mutual loyalty between EU member states.
And speaking about former Polish Deputy Justice Minister Marcin Romanowski, who was granted political asylum in Hungary, Polish Justice Minister Adam Bodnar announced that Poland will do everything it can to ensure that those suspected of serious crimes don't escape accountability.
We will have to involve both the European Union and the Council of Europe in this matter, because we cannot let people who are suspected of such serious crimes to simply flee the Polish justice system. Whether someone fled to the Dominican Republic, the United Arab Emirates, Great Britain or Hungary, Poland will always take all possible actions to bring such people back to Poland so they can be held responsible.
I did not expect those who are fleeing justice would be able to choose between Lukashenko and Orbán, said Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk at a press conference on Wednesday. Tusk also added that the period before Poland assumes the presidency of the EU Council from Hungary is full of, and I quote, puzzling events.
I did not expect that those who are fleeing justice, corrupt officials, would be able to choose between Lukashenko and Orbán. Yesterday's declaration by Prime Minister Orbán that he will not agree to extend sanctions against Russia is yet another punchline of the Hungarian presidency, and the Hungarian presidency also began with Orbán's unexpected visit to Moscow. I warned our compatriots and Europe that Russian influence can be extremely destructive. Our task is even more important because Poland has a reputation as the most ambitious and very reasonable country when it comes to challenges related to threats from the East.
Poland has announced it is committed to respecting the decision of the International Criminal Court, which issued an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu back in November. According to the Polish daily Rzeczpospolita, this means the Israeli head of government will probably not attend the upcoming ceremony marking the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Almost 1 million Jews were killed at Auschwitz. Due to the ICC's warrant for Netanyahu, Israel would likely be represented by Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar at the ceremony commemorating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the camp on the 27th of January. Many world leaders will be in attendance, with the United States expected to be represented by either Vice President-elect J.D. Vance or Donald Trump's choice for Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Wszyscy mamy obowiązek bycia strażnikami pamięci o tym, co się działo zarówno w obozie Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Russia launched yet another attack on Ukraine on Friday morning, targeting Kyiv. The strike caused widespread damage as well as multiple casualties. Our correspondent Oskar Teji is in Kyiv and has more. Hello, Oz. So what do we know about the situation? What are the latest updates here?
Well, another large-scale missile and drone attack launched by Russia against Ukraine in the early hours of Friday morning. I was awoken personally around 7 a.m. As the air defense was engaged over the skies of Kyiv. That was confirmed by the local mayor, the Kyiv mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, who said that air defenses were engaged over the skies of Kyiv. We believe 5 ballistic missiles were launched at the Ukrainian capital, with all 5 being reportedly shot down by the Ukrainian Air Force. However, there is widespread damage reported from falling debris. We have residential buildings damaged, at least 2 apartment blocks, multiple cars destroyed, and unfortunately there is at least 1 fatality, 1 person reported killed, and at least 10 others reported wounded. So a really large-scale attack, and it just goes to show the danger that even when these missiles are shot down, they still can cause huge amounts of damage on the ground. Now, air defense is particularly important for Ukraine going forward. Just on Wednesday, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky asked partners for more help in the air defense sector as Russian attacks are expected to continue throughout the winter months. Back to you in the studio, Jonasz.
So Russia continuing its barbaric attacks against civilian targets in Ukraine. Oskar Teji, thank you for joining us here today with this update, and stay safe. Now we're moving on to our next story. Our journey through Finland continues today. This nation is building resilience and can be a powerful example of defense and strategic preparedness. What lesson could Europe learn from them? Aleksandra Żaczek and her guests shine a light on Finland's warfare systems in securing its future.
Joining NATO brings Finland a sense of security, but that's not the only thing. Also, building warfare is the major task for the Finnish government. Right now, I'm with the ambassador, Tomasz Chłoń, asking what is the lesson from Finland that Poland, but also the rest of Europe, can get?
Well, lessons are about education. So if we want to emulate a certain Finnish or Nordic model, we should focus much more on education, and that means more money for schools, for teachers. The Finns managed to create a system that benefits higher education, and not only, at the university level, but the primary level, even kindergarten. That's where this positive selection to the profession starts. And it's also about accepting that you have to pay for good services and welfare state, and that means high taxes. It has to be embedded in the long-term policies, not experimenting every 4 years, but be consistent and create a stable system. Welfare state that does not exclude anybody is a condition where people trust public institutions, which on the other hand makes them resilient, better prepared and more resilient to shocks, whether they are coming from inside or from outside, external threats such as manipulating information, disinformation, interference. The Nordic states are quite immune in this respect.
New significant months ahead of Poland, the presidency of the European Union, where we especially will be threatened by many actions like cyber attacks. How can we build this resilience right now?
My first day here, when I arrived, my first working day was to accompany Deputy Prime Minister Krzysztof Gawkowski, and he met his Finnish counterparts, discussed, he presented the priorities of the Polish presidency, and we see that, we see eye to eye with Finland, and Finland has certain solutions that we can emulate, and they want to support the Polish presidency in this respect. And all in all, when it comes to countering foreign interference and manipulation of information, I think we count on Finland's support to look at how we can strengthen the standards in every member state. Maybe start a discussion how to regulate platforms, algorithms. We know, the example of Romania recently, right, where 25,000 artificial accounts and coordinated inauthentic behavior elevated a candidate who had 5% to 37, with huge money that were, fueled with no transparency at all on TikTok. So these are the lessons we draw, and I think after the Polish presidency, Europe and member states will be a little bit better prepared to counter these hybrid threats, including disinformation.
Well, thank you very much. We hope for that. And if you want to learn more about Finland, make sure to stay with TVP World. The whole day we'll prepare a special coverage for you. And in the evening, we'll have capital questions from here, from Helsinki.
And for more on Finland's fascinating journey of resilience, please join us later today at 9 p.m. for Capital Questions here on TVP World. And that's all for now here on TVP World News. I'm Anna Ślewiński. Bye for now.